So we wanted to do this video for a while now, obviously since the interviews came out with Andy Bays with BBC Radio Lancashire and the Rovers TV one with Casey. I had loads of points written down for each one. I was kind of like waiting for Lancashire Telegraph to get an interview with them, and then obviously the news came out that Elliot Jackson didn't go to one of the games or wasn't at one of the games, and I asked the question on Twitter whether he'd been banned or if he was like just doing it out of almost like a protest for not being allowed to interview the people in charge of the club after the January transfer window, which they said they wanted to do for the last few years, like open up the communication. So I made a lot of notes and I thought I'd wait for a little bit to obviously hear. I had concerns that something had happened with Elliot Jackson, and I'd obviously not spoke to him, or he's not confirmed that. He has confirmed it now, more recently, but we didn't speak about it or anything. The one with the Rovers TV, not really took much from. There's not really that many questions that were hard hitting, or you could have got a lot of answers from. Got some no. I mean, it's rich coming from us, given the last podcast we put out with Glenn Mullen, the quality of the video, because obviously my camera setup on the day wasn't great. But the camera on Adam Owen is just absolutely bonkers. Like, it looks like he's been caught in a bloody newspaper sting video. I'm just expecting like the Sun logo in the top corner and to drink a pint of wine to try and it's just weird. It's almost like someone's recording it from the handbag to try and get him to say something that he shouldn't possibly say. A couple of like quotes from there as well. The performance has worked in a lot of games, has it? Like, knocked out the cup by Bradford, 2 wins in our first 6. I mean, probably should have had 3 with the Ipswich game, but I really want to make this video because I feel like we've got a culture of lying at the football club. I confronted Rudy about it on Saturday. I just said to him that no one has ever been caught out by telling the truth, and he said that he always speaks the truth, he never lies, and I might disagree with what he has to say, but it's not lies. I don't believe him. I think the club has a problem with telling the truth, and whether they believe it, but the things that I'm going to highlight in this video, I don't know how you can believe that they're actually telling the truth when they're coming out with the statements and the reports that they are making. So a couple of like clips and quotes from the Rovers TV one. English versus abroad is easier. It's not easier to sign people from abroad, and he made a comment like that all championship clubs are kind of doing that. They're not. So we'll like challenge that and obviously look into the details around like most clubs' championship summer transfers. And then he said that a player ticked all the right boxes. Physicality was great, data was great, but they had an interview with him and they knew straight away from the video call that it wasn't the right cultural fit. And I'm like, well, you were the one that came into the club and said you wanted a data-driven approach. Like, surely, like, the data fits, you sign him, like, regardless of how a video call went. I'm sure I wouldn't be happy speaking to you on a video call, given that he's got the right data and he's got the right pedigree. Why should he have to impress you or a video call? It doesn't really make sense. So yeah, that was a Rovers TV one. Again, there's not much tape from it because Casey's never going to challenge what he is saying. The thing I was worried about is that Andy Bays, so he was the person that challenged Sohail Pasha, the last video interview that they did, and his challenge led to obviously the coalition's big campaign around hashtag well it's not, and made Rovers and Sohail Pasha look very silly for a week or so. And I think Andy Bays was warned to not challenge or not ask the tough questions, and you can see that in the interview. You can tell by he's not really gone back with any counterpoints to any of Rudy's points, and we'll get into each one individually. I'm not just like saying I don't believe Andy Bays did it, but I feel like Elliot Jackson's obviously been banned, not allowed to do it. Andy Bays has been allowed to do it on the condition of you're not allowed to counter any of his points, or you're not allowed to basically have any comebacks for anything he's got to say. So yeah, we'll get into each point individually. It starts straight away basically on the Lancs interview.
that you went into the window with, and have you worked through those objectives to get what you want?
Yes, so it's quite simple. Usually try to go to the transfer window to replace the players that left the club, try to make the team better, and also try to prepare yourself in case there is some movements in your team, to give you the big picture of it.
So first off, Andy Bayes asked him what are the club's objectives going into the transfer window. So fresh slate, nothing happening yet. What are your objectives? How do you want to improve the team? What do you want from this transfer window? And Rudy's first statement is to say that the objective is to replace the players that they're going to leave. That's not an aim that you should have. You should be looking at first, like, improve the team. And then he says something else about, I can't remember what the middle point was, but the last point again is like signing players to replace players. Is there any movement in your team? No, that was already your first point. Your first point was about replacing players that are going to leave. And then you've said some waffle. And then you made another point about replacing players that are going to leave. So are we ever going to get to a point where transfers are based on our current squad and how we can improve that? Or is it every transfer window going to be who can we buy for the cheapest to replace the ones that we're selling for the most money we could possibly get? Like, I just want a genuine answer. None of this. And like Andy Bayes should be saying, your third point in that phrase is exactly the same as the first point. But again, it doesn't challenge because he's obviously been warned. And there is a bit later on in the video, around like 26, 27 minutes mark, where Rudy says something and the video cut, and Andy Bayes challenges him and the video cuts, and he comes back on and says something again about it. And then like literally that minute he talks about the press not giving the right facts and stuff like that. So I'm not sure whether that was part of the warning for Andy.
Why was that situation not sorted last season?
Yes, this situation should have been sorted the season before, when the player is like 2 years contract, or you can discuss the contract situation. I was not in a position to do it. There's few parties in the discussion, and the decision making wasn't that clear that it is now. So that's why we end up in this situation.
And then he makes a point about the contracts. Obviously, we've had a lot of issues with players going out of contract, and Rudy Gestede says that this should have been sorted earlier and before he was in a position to sort out those contracts. So at the latest fans forum, you remember that Sahel Pasha actually said it was Rudy's fault that all these contracts were expiring and we weren't getting money for players. Rudy's saying it was before his time, he doesn't have a chance to sort it out. Players have still got a year left. It was like when he was in a position of power 6 months ago, like where he could have had talks about renewing contracts. Andy Bayes brings up the point about Dom Hyam doesn't sound like he wants to go. Could have had a conversation with him then. Could have had a conversation with him at the start of the window saying, right, you don't want to go, let's sort out your contract. But no, it should have been sorted earlier, obviously. That's just absolving himself of any blame in the situation.
The academy system was starting off, so if I can think back to people like David Dunn, Paul Gallagher, there's obviously loads and loads of names over the years that have come through, and then I think as that run of bringing young players through has continued, it's just got bigger and bigger at the club, so it's just got loads of momentum over the years, so it's almost become a thing at Blackburn Rovers that's what we do. We bring young players through, and then obviously in the current day, with us being in the Championship, with us being in the northwest of England and surrounded by some huge clubs, especially the 2 Liverpool clubs, the 2 Manchester clubs, we have to try and do things a little bit differently, and what we do is we bring young players through and try and get them into our first team, or as we've seen with Adam recently, generate income through developing our own players.
How much does that history of the academy then sort of motivate and inspire everyone here today, and through staff and?
But this cultural line isn't just the first team now. It's spread to the academy manager, Paul Gray, who said this about the first team, always producing players, and there's always opportunities for young players to get into the first team. And it's just a Blackburn Rovers thing that we do now. We always have like academy players in our first team. We're always bringing young players through. Go look at the squad against Charlton. Go look at the squad. The only player we had in the squad that was from the academy was Scott Wharton. And how old's Scott Wharton now? 26? 27? Oh, Jesus. Is that bringing young players through? Is that what we're doing? Like, look at that bench. You've got Gay, Cargbo. There has to be an academy product better than that. If it's not, then what are we doing here? Why are we paying a Paul Gray to be academy manager if there isn't a talent better than them two that could be on the bench? It's time to give it up. Time to just tell the truth. If there isn't enough, like, isn't any talent in the academy, that's fine. Come out and say it, but don't give us a lecture on how it's a thing that Blackburn Rovers do, and we're always proud to bring through academy players, because we're not doing that. We're not doing that anymore. We've got rid of all our academy talents. So, just be honest. Just please start being honest.
But the fact that our saying are wrong, I can explain that. We knew that Dom could leave, so we prepared ourselves. Lewis Miller is booked to be a centre-back at this club. That's why we booked Taylor also on the right to cover Ryan, or to fight with Ryan for the competition. Then we've got Lewis Miller, we've got Aidan Carter, Scott Wharton, Sean, and we've got Tom Hutchinson behind as a young players. It's more than enough in the championship to compete. We've got 2 players per position, and we know we've got players with experience in championship. Plus Lewis Miller was playing for European games last season at Hibs. So we were prepared for that. That's why Lewis...
And then we come on to Lewis Miller, who not Dom Hyam. Well, he was signed to replace Dom Hyam, apparently, even though he was signed way before. But they knew Dom Hyam was going to leave, even though it was only Wrexham's last-minute bid. I don't know. I struggle to keep up with the web of lies that the club are coming out with currently. It's just non-stop. They've tangled so much. They forgot what they've said, and then it's hard to come back. It's too easy to get caught up in a lie. Like I said to Rudy on Saturday, no one ever got caught out telling the truth, and it's about time that Rudy Gestede started telling the truth. So he first says that Lewis Miller was signed as a centre-back. In Lewis Miller's first interview with the club, he told Rovers TV how he loves bombing up and down the line, he loves getting to the byline, putting crosses in, really energetic full-back, gets up and down. Doesn't sound very centre-back-like. I'd be a bit pissed off if my centre-back started running up and down the line. Bit like it's not the tactics or the alignment we want from our management team when our centre-backs are trying to get to the byline and put crosses in. Surely you want your full-back to put crosses in and your centre-back to be in the box to head it in if it's a corner or a set piece, but I've never known a centre-back get to the byline and put a cross in for someone else. And he starts going on this and Ryan to replace Britton, and Andy Bayes asked the question, are you not sure about the concerns? Obviously we've only got Wharton, Carter, Miller, Alabiosu. Carter's obviously injured now, which we knew straight away. The club said it was a knock. Valerian Ishmael said he missed training. Now all of a sudden he's out for 6 weeks because it's a muscle injury. All the key communication points from the club are all saying different things all the time. We're constantly getting caught up in this web of lies all the time. I don't think Lewis Miller was a centre-back. He ends the phrase by saying that Lewis Miller played European football last season, so that was a great start. He didn't. Didn't play European football once last season. 2 years ago he played some qualifiers in the Europa Conference League. Didn't play European football last season. So does he do the research? Is he just... I don't even know what's going on anymore. I'm getting fed up. But yeah, it's pretty obvious that we should have signed a centre-back and that Lewis Miller wasn't a centre-back, and it was proved on Saturday at Charlton when Gardner Hickman had to go to right-back, Lewis Miller was at right centre-back, and Charlton just peppered their left-hand side to try and get at the players who were massively and quite clearly out of position and weren't comfortable. So, yeah, another lie.
experience is really out of Blackburn Rovers' reach now most of the time.
It is getting difficult. We can still do it with Sean McLaughlin, who is from the Championship. We can still find players who've got experience, but it's going to be a bit harder. If you check the landscape in Championship, few of the team around us have been poaching players outside of the domestic market when players from League One have bought for.
He then gets asked about the challenges about signing players in the domestic market. Can we afford them? Can we afford to buy those players? And he mentions something like, if you look at the teams around us in the Championship, few of them are buying players or poaching players from outside of the domestic market. They're not. Like, if you look at the Championship summer transfers, so you look at the teams around us that finished last season, not the ones who came down and got promoted, because especially Birmingham Wrexham, they're going to have more money to spend, so they can buy from. But it's not exactly poaching players from foreign markets. I won't class spending £9 million on Kyogo Furuhashi a poach. Whereas we're spending like $250,000, $500,000 on players from unknown leagues or unknown entities. So you look at Bristol City, they've finished. Did they finish 6th? Yeah, they finished above us. We were chasing them going into Sheffield United away. Signed Adam Randall from Plymouth, obviously played in the Championship the season before. Joe Lumley from Southampton. Emil Rees from Preston. Signed a Japanese lad, Hirakawa. Has he been in England before? A lad on loan from Man United and a lad on loan from Middlesbrough. So, poaching players from outside the domestic market. Yeah, if you want to call it that. Charlton, who obviously beat us on Saturday, they signed Charlie Kelman from QPR, Rob Apter from Blackpool, Harvey Nibbs from Reading, Tanto Olafin from Stockport, Thomas Kaminski from Luton, Joe Rankin Costello from Blackburn, who would have probably helped us out at right back on Saturday, Sonny Curry from Blackpool, Amari Bell from Luton, Reece Burke from Luton, James Bree from Southampton on loan. Poaching players from foreign markets, clearly. Coventry City, who obviously their transfer dealings have been superb since they've sold £20 million worth of talent every single year by the looks of it, and they keep buying more and reinvesting. Maybe we should try that one season. But they signed Kesler Hayden from Aston Villa for $4 million, Luke Wolfender from Ipswich, and then we got Carl Rushworth, who's probably been the best Championship keeper for the last 3 or 4 seasons. When he was at Swansea, he was one of the best by far, on loan from Brighton. So again, poaching players from foreign markets. Derby County, I know they signed the main signing was the guy from Charlotte in America. Andy Vyman, Danny Bath, who you'll never guess, from Blackburn. Richard O'Donnell from Blackpool, Ryan Brewston from Sheffield United. They also signed Lewis Travis, our captain, Carlton Morris from Luton, and Dion Sanderson from Birmingham, Owen Beck from Liverpool, Ben Brereton Diaz from Southampton, and David Ozo from Crystal Palace on loan. Poaching players from outside of the domestic market. Hull, they were on a transfer embargo. They still signed Semi Ajayi from West Brom, Dylan Phillips from Rotherham, and Firmao from Sheff Wednesday. Poaching players from outside of the domestic market. Again, like why is every team simply doing this? Even some of the relegated teams, so like Ipswich signed Daniel Furlong from West Brom, Nunes from Norwich, Ashley Young, like experience playing in the country, know the physicality, all that sort of stuff. I don't know which team he's talking about when he's talking about it. Leicester City obviously famously haven't signed anyone. Everyone keeps banging on about it. Begovic from Everton, Aaron Ramsey from Burnley, on loan. Keep going. Let's have a look. I mean, Middlesbrough, I know they've started the season very, very well. Signed Callum Britton from Rovers for a start. Signed Alfie Jones from Hull City. John McLaughlin from Swansea as that backup goalkeeper. And then the loan transfers are from Man City, Sunderland and Newcastle, Brown, Target and Napan. But if you look at the main signings, that's David Strelec from Slovan Bratislava. And people say we sign foreigners, but like they're signing players from Slovakia and Slovenia or whatever, and unheard of teams. They're the champions. They're not like relegated from Belgian Division 2. They are the champions of the country, and they're signing players of like their main centre forward from that season. They just won the league, and that's the difference. Like, even if it is poaching from foreign markets, sign players that are good enough. Don't sign players that are struggling in foreign markets and then come to England and shockingly struggle straight away as well. where are we up to? So we did Middlesbrough, so we're on to Millwall now. Josh Coburn from Middlesbrough, Caleb Taylor from West Brom, Joe Coleman from Bolton, Luongo from Ipswich, Crocombe from Burton Albion, Alfie Doherty from Luton, someone from Chelsea under 21, never heard of him, but still will have experience of playing in a physical country. Loan signings from Fulham, Southampton. Right, are they still poaching from outside? Norwich has been slightly different. They've gone fully foreign, apart from Jacob Wright, which is a cracking signing. Jeffrey Slupp as well from Crystal Palace, Louis Molden from Crystal Palace, Harry Darling from Swansea, who I thought was superb at Swansea last season. Lincoln City, they signed players from Daniel Grimshaw from Plymouth, who was quite, well, I don't want to say he was quite good. He obviously got relegated from Championship last season, but he was good for Plymouth last season. Again, the foreign players that we signed, Brøndby, one of the better teams in Denmark. They're not signing crap, basically. Oxford United got Brody Spencer from Huddersfield, the loan signings from Rangers, Fulham's, Tottenham under 21. You're getting bored of me saying it now. Portsmouth signed, I mean, they got Josh Knight, who was at Hanover, but I'm going to assume that he's been at an English club before, surely. Yeah, he went from Peterborough to Hanover last season, now coming back from Hanover. Who else have they got? Who was I up to? Portsmouth, oh yeah. Uma Chibeze from Palace. John Swift from West Brom, who we've been linked with, who we probably should have got. Would have been fine. Loan signings from Spurs, Swansea, Ipswich. The famous non-domestic teams. Preston North End, we can't compete with them apparently in the domestic market because they've signed a Fire from Brighton for 1.5 million, Michael Smith from Sheff Wednesday, Thierry Small from Charlton, Valentine from Sheff Wednesday, Everson from Leicester. If you haven't seen Everson's save from Saturday, go and watch it. It's one of the best saves ever made. Still think the Bristol City striker should have finished it, but to react like that from 4 yards away in the 95th minute of the game is incredible. Jordan Thompson from Stoke City, Lewis Dobbin from Villa on loan, Harrison Armstrong from Everton, who we were linked with, probably should have got, Alfie Devine from Spurs, Daniel Jefferson from Bournemouth on loan again, Jack Walton from Luton, like backup goalkeeper. Like, they literally replace the whole goalkeeping department for next to normal, well, no money, both free transfers, but we can't compete with that, obviously. QPR. Karen Walker Dembele, who was at Celtic, was it? And then he was on loan at QPR last season, so they know about him. I know they signed him from Stade in France, but they obviously know about him. Burton Albion from, Romain Barrow from Burton Albion, and Mbenge from Reading, Isaac Hayden from Newcastle, really good experience from Middle Park, Kwame Poku from Peterborough, who we were linked with again. Why is he choosing QPR over us? Loan transfers from Sheffield United. Like, it just goes on and on and on, and like none of these people are poaching from outside domestic market. Sheffield United, really poor start to the season. Signed a centre-back from Malmo, again, one of Sweden's top teams. Braga, good team in Portugal. Centre-back from Brentford, Ben Mee. Danny Ings from West Ham. Luton, Mark McGuinness, Matos from Chelsea, Chong from Luton, Tanganga from Millwall. I'm very surprised at. I'm surprised he went. Ben Godfrey on loan, Tyler Binden on loan, who we were obviously after before he went to Forest. Ogbene from Ipswich on loan, Louis Barry from Villa, that we obviously were linked with last January when he was banging all the goals in at Stockport. Again, another team that can't keep poaching from outside the domestic market. Sheff Wednesday, under embargo, and loads of problems, obviously. Got Harry Amass and Ethan Horvath on loan, one from Cardiff, one from Man United. They're really struggling and still managed to poach from inside the domestic market, Southampton, obviously they're going to spend a lot of money, just come down. Finn Azaz from Middlesbrough, who was one of Borough's best players last season. Tom Fellows from West Brom. Signed quite a few Germans, to be fair. But you expect that from with teams with bigger budgets, because they're going to go out and spend more money, invest in a team. Also got a right back from Brentford, Jay Robinson from Southampton, George Long from Norwich. Not really spending much on the loans or getting a lot of loans in, but they've got quite a big squad because they're in the Premier League last season. Stoke, their main signing was from Bannica Strava. Let's see what they did last season. So yeah, Stoke, they spent $4 million on a centre midfield from Bannica Strava, finished third in the top league. Cisse from Bastia spent some money on. Tolovarev from Plymouth. Steven Nzonzi, I mean, I didn't know if he's still playing. I'm guessing he's going to go into like the kind of director of football route after he's played a couple of minutes this season. Free transfer from Boavista. Aaron Creswell from West Ham. Sorba Thomas, who obviously has been here before. True Grant from Man City under 21s. Mabuma from Man City. Jamie Donnelly from Spurs. Swansea City, Adam Eder. I know it's Celtic and it's not exactly the Championship, and he's been crap so far. A lot of complaints about him, but obviously knows the physicality. It's SPL, I'd say, is very similar to the Championship. Galbraith from Leyton Orient. Paul Farman from Barrow, Cameron Burgess from Ipswich, Ricardo Santos from Bolton, Stemovic from Notts Forest, loan transfers from Chelsea, West Ham, signing players from Swansea, down to Watford now. Watford have never signed players from the domestic market. That's just not their game at all. Have they signed anyone from... They got Nathan Baxter from Bolton, the goalkeeper. Cipriano from Peterborough as well. A couple of loan players from Man City. Udinese as well is obviously the sister team. Do you call it sister team? Got a couple of signings from them. And then West Brom, they signed Nat Phillips from Liverpool. Alfie Gilchrist, I can't say that word. Alfie Gilchrist from Chelsea. Christian Bellick from Birmingham, Chris Mepham from Bournemouth, Collier from Man United on loan, Illing Jr. from Aston Villa on loan, Charlie Taylor from Southampton on loan. So obviously spent a bit of money poaching players from outside the domestic market, and all of a sudden I'm at Wrexham and I'm still struggling to find a team that he's talking about that keep poaching players. Probably Watford, but I won't class their transfer strategy as poaching because they've spent quite a bit of money on the player they spent the most on, $3 million on a lad from Bayern Munich. Montpellier. Anyway, we're at Wrexham. They've signed players from Ipswich, Coventry, Man City under 21s, Notts Forest, Dom Hyam from Blackburn, Kiefer Moore from Sheffield United, Conor Cody from Leicester, George Thomason from Bolton, Ryan Hardy from Plymouth, Josh Windass from Sheffield Wednesday, Danny Ward from Leicester, Issa Kabore from Man City. Have they got any loan transfers? Oh, that Kabore is a loan transfer as well. So you can see there they've been through every single team in the Championship, and only Watford I can really think of that are poaching players from outside the domestic market, as Rudy likes to phrase it.
Willing to sign a new contract.
You were 7th last season.
Yes.
What would be a good season this year? What realistically would you suggest would be a good position to finish this season, Rudy?
Yeah, good position. It's hard to say. Successful season will be to be able to gel all together, to see the performance going higher and higher and higher, to feel that the squad is working well together, and to see the players enjoying to be on the pitch, obviously winning games. But then to give you a position, it's hard for me to give you that. Yeah,
you'll want to do as well as you can. Yes. Clearly. If you're in the Championship next season, with all the change that has happened, would you consider that to be a good season?
You asked me last season, at the beginning of the season, would you be 7th at the end of the season? Would that be a very tough call also? So we did very well to get there. The guys did very well to get there. The coaches did very well to get them there. Now it's a different season, different players, different environments. So let them do their best. I believe they can do well in Championship. Now to give you a position, it would be too much to say.
Just in terms of you.
So if they want me to go, they will have to be patient because I will stay for now.
Does it bother you?
Not at all. And everything. So And the fans are there. They want to express their emotions. They don't have all the parameters. They don't know what's happened at the club, why we make decision. They've got their own perception. Sometimes the press is not helping because they don't have the real facts and they put something outside. That's why I said to the press, I'm happy to discuss, but before you put something outside, make sure you've got all the facts together. And I'm happy then if you send a story out, because sometimes it's not helping when they put some facts which are wrong, and then we've got the pressure on the club. So I'm happy to discuss anything. I've got nothing to hide. My communication is very clear. I hope you understand my English, being French. So any communication, I would be happy to discuss.
And then it gets like towards the end of the interview, and they've already discussed like the transfer dealings and all that sort of stuff. And Andy Baird asks a simple question of, finished 7th last season, what would you, Rudy Gestede, class as a successful season? Probably thinking like, well, we always want to aim higher, or we want to aim to equal what we did last season. So 7th would be a good season. That's what you would hope people would say. Decides to dodge the question altogether and says last season was very tough and it was unexpected that we finished 7th. This season is going to be even tougher because we've lost players and it's new manager and new style and everyone gelling together and all that sort of stuff. So we wouldn't like to put a number on it. It's too difficult to put a number on it. But a successful season would be everyone gelling together, everyone playing with a smile on their face and enjoying themselves, and to improve. I don't know what those are non-metrics. Like, how do you measure how much a team is gelling together? Some of the most famous partnerships in world football didn't gel. Sutton and Shearer didn't get on off the pitch. Well, not necessarily didn't get on, but they weren't best of mates. They didn't gel together. But one of the best partnerships we've ever had, Cole and Sheringham, won a treble together. Didn't get on. What does gelling together even mean? I'm not bothered with play. If all 23 players absolutely hated each other, but on a Saturday could put in a performance and win the game, couldn't care less. Could not care less at all. And the whole point I'm trying to make is that Rudy Gestede doesn't want to commit to any metrics where you could say you failed. He doesn't want to commit to something you can judge him on, because he doesn't want people to turn around and say, you failed on this, who takes accountability? And it's like a mentality around the club, and it's clouding the club. No one takes accountability for anything. We've come away from getting pumped 3-0 off Charlton on Saturday, and the manager's coming out talking about the referee winking at a player. And we'll actually talk about that right here. So the referee is winking at Cantwell because the referee knows that Cantwell knows that it is never a penalty. Ever in a million years. The bloke's sliding to block the cross. There's nowhere to put his arms. It's not making him... It's not an unnatural position. He can't slide with his arms behind his back, because if he lands on his elbow, he breaks his forearms. The referee knows that Cantwell is shouting for that penalty in hope rather than expectation. That's why he's laughing. That's why he's winking. Happens every time you ask for a 50-50 decision, because the referees are quite intelligent and quite good at the job. And most of them understand footballers when they're just going, ref, it's got to be a pen. It's got to be. He doesn't. Well, what else can he say? Do you want him to turn around and say, actually, Todd, it's not a penalty? Or do you want him to just laugh and get on with the game? Like, yeah, good try. That's what he means by the laugh and the wink. Ran over. And then towards the end, he gets asked about LinkedIn messages and stuff like that. And of course, he's been called all these sort of names, and he's been called worse names before by people, and he's got tough skin and all that sort of stuff. So if we want him to go, they'll have to be patient. We've put up with this ownership for 15 years, Rudy. We're probably the most patient fan base in the country. We've put up with the people that you sit and defend every couple of months for the best part of, well, a decade and a half, and it's only getting worse, and people like you are making it worse. I mean, you say like, so the next part you say they don't know what's happened at the club. We know enough. We know that you aren't fit to be in the position you're in, and like you say, like, we haven't got the experience that you've got. I won't want the experience you got. You're the worst Premier League football player of all time. Factually, that is your data. That's what your data-driven approach will rely on. You are the worst points per game Premier League footballer of all time. And yeah, we will be patient and we will wait for you to go. But once you've gone, once Sahil's gone and once we get new owners and the Venkis have finally gone, it'll be a long, very, very long celebration that we'll have. Stop lying, start telling the truth, and start doing what's best for Blackburn Rovers.